G'day, Fiddler Dan here, and today I want to talk about your second set of violin strings. When you first buy a violin, invariably you end up with a set of factory strings on them. These are usually quite thin in gauge and are quite inexpensive as a string. You get them on your first violin for two reasons. One, it's a lot cheaper. If the manufacturers aren't putting better strings on, then they can keep the cost down and you're more likely to buy their instrument. The second reason is when you're first starting out on the violin, your technique's not wonderful. And so it's kind of a waste to put really good strings on a violin and try and sell it to someone because they're going to be disappointed with how it sounds. So most violins come with these factory strings on it. Thin steel strings that are practically indestructible, last forever, and no matter how rudimentary your bowing technique is, you're still going to get a reasonable kind of sound with them. However, after you've been playing about a year, your technique has significantly improved and these strings are not doing you any favours. And so after about a year, your violin's due for a service. That's a great time to come and upgrade your strings as well and get something that sounds a bit better. So that's my job today, to play through some of the strings that you might get as your second set. Of course, there are hundreds of other strings that you can get, but we can't cover them all today. And so what I'm going to do is use the Hidersine Studenti violin, something I've reviewed before. And if you, where's my finger? If you have a look up here, you'll see a link to the review of this instrument. I think it's a great all-round starting instrument for a full-size violin and would do the average student through high school at a push. So it's a nice instrument, I think, to test these strings fairly. So I'm going to test these strings on the Hidersine Studenti violin with a Hidersine bow and using the Hidersine rosin that comes with it, just to make it a fair test. So let's have a listen to the Studenti. This is our sound comparison with the factory strings. Whoops, that violin's a little bit out of tune, but you can get an idea of the tonal characteristics. So let me put this down. I'll put some new strings on it and I'll be back in a tick. And I'm back. The first set of strings that I've put on the violin are these ones here. These are the Clarendon Silver strings. They're a music store brand, sold to lots of the music stores around Australia. Really inexpensive, less than $30. And probably my go-to string for beginner instruments because the price point is so attractive for parents. The strings here they're still a steel string, but they're a multi-strand steel core. So that gives them a bit more flexibility than the strings that come out of the factory, and I think you hear that in the sound. So let's have a listen to these. These are the Clarendon Silvers. So I think you're getting quite a bit more tonal depth there. Certainly if a player hasn't progressed too much, these are a great option, and they're my go-to replacement string set when people on their first set of strings just need some change because they've broken one or two. One of the things I don't like about these strings, have a listen to the G string here, is you get that detuning as you play it. This tends to disappear after the string settles in. I think it's just a matter of the string stretching and that goes away in a little while. So that's the Clarendon Silvers. A nice step up from the factory strings. You could actually put them on an instrument straight away when you bought them. They're very easy to play and give you a little bit of a step up in tone for not very much money at all. Right. These are the Hidersine Andante strings. These are a steel core, a flexible steel core, like a steel rope string. So still a steel string, but a rope core. They're quite new to the market, so I don't know the pricing of these yet, but let's have a listen. So the Hidersine Andantes, I think they're quite a bit more punchy than the Clarendon Silvers that I just tried, which is great. They seem to me like quite a bright string and would be a great string for a fiddler, for fiddle tunes, and a good second set of strings too, if you weren't looking for that kind of deep romantic style tones that you might want to get from a violin. So that's the Hidersine Andantes, and let's have a look at the next set now. Another contender for your second set of strings are the D'Addario Preludes. They're also a steel core string, and they perform well enough that quite a few music shops put these on their instruments as a factory string replacement straight off the bat. They can do that because D'Addario have really nice pricing for unpackaged strings when you buy them in large quantities. So a nice string. I don't tend to stock them because I think the price is a single purchase. There are other options available, but they're certainly a string that you could check out. The string that I want to show you now are the Clarendon Gold strings. These again are a music store brand, and you'll see these in a lot of music stores. And I actually have quite a few local teachers that like these strings a lot for their students to buy. The reason being is these are the kind of very entry-level synthetic gut core strings, and these at the moment are selling for under $50. So a synthetic gut core string has a nice tone, and you're certainly not paying for brand, so they're not a bad option. Let's have a listen to them. You have the beginnings there of the sweeter tone of the violin being able to speak. Being a synthetic core, they take a few days to settle in, so there's a kind of metallic sound there, and they're still detuning a bit. They would sound quite a bit more mature after 3 days on the instrument. Those are the Clarendon Golds, less than $50, and quite a nice sound. Hello, and this time I've put on the Thomastik Alphayue strings. I like to call these strings the baby dominants because they're made by Dr. Thomastik, who makes the industry standard dominant strings. I find these are just under $60 now, and a synthetic gut core, really easy to play. Probably not so amazing on projection, but easy to play and easy to get a nice tone out of. So let's have a listen. thick, chewy tone there for still pretty much a budget price. This is probably the most popular string that I put onto people's violins as they're changing up. I think it's right for understanding and further developing your bowing technique because it responds nicely. Though again, these do take a few days to settle in. You could hear the notes breaking there a little bit. Not just my playing. And so, yes, a good string, not huge on projection, but a great second string for 60 bucks. As a little surprise, I'm just going to put some really nice strings on this and let you have a listen to that in just a moment. And I'm back again, and this time I've put on the violin these strings. These are from Larsen. These are the Il Cannone or the Canon violin strings. They're actually my personal favourite at the moment. They roll in at around $130, which puts them at the same price point as something like the industry standard Dominance. But the sound that comes out of these is almost as bright as the Eva Perazzi Greens, which are now retailing for well over $200. And while I love the sparkle of Eva Perazzi Greens, the sound doesn't seem to last all that long. And so what I like about these strings is they're not quite as bright, and I found Eva Perazzi's a bit too bright for my violin. These are not quite as bright, but the longevity of these strings is just fabulous. And I had a chance to talk to the experts at Larsen, and they assure me that with cleaning you can get nearly 2 or 3 times the life out of these strings. So that's a fabulous proposition. I want you to have a listen to these. Il Cannone, these are the orchestral version. There's a soloist version which again is even a little bit brighter, but have a listen to these on this instrument, the Hidersine Studenti. See what you think. One of the things I really like about these strings is that long resonance and that rich tone. And this is something that becomes even more apparent after these strings have been on your instrument for the first couple of days as they go through their settling in period. So those are the Il Cannones. They're probably better matched on a more expensive instrument, but they certainly take this instrument to a new level. So thanks for listening on what to consider for your second set of strings. I think while these strings are on this violin, I'm just going to do a quick review of some bows. So watch out for that video coming very soon as well. Thanks and bye for now.